Meeting to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge. Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3. J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. For our invitation day, we have Reverend Marilyn Jones with the Meadowbrook United Methodist Church. If you would all please stand, remain standing for the pledges after the prayer.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we join together to thank you for this day. This is a new day, a day we have never seen before. We pray that we treat this day as the treasure that it is. May our thoughts be pleasing to you. May our words be kind and uplifting to our neighbors. May our actions aim to help others. We pray for our cities, our county, our state, our country, and our world. May your peace reign in all places. Let your kingdom come today through us. May we strive today to love you with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And may we seek to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. May we feel your presence with us today in all things and in all places. Thank you for hearing the prayers and the cries of our hearts. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Banias.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have two announcements as it relates to the agenda this morning. The first one is under CSCD, which is item 8C1. This is a consent item. We're going to hold this particular item. And then finally, members of court, our county judge and commissioners, item N1A. This is a Precinct 1 initiative. We're going to hold that until after closed today.
All right. We have our minutes of October the 1st.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. We have several proclamations today. The memorial resolution, Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have a couple or three.
I've got three, Your Honor. The first is a memorial resolution honoring the life of Captain Claude R. Platt, one of the original Tuskegee Airmen who departed this life 2 weeks ago. The second is a resolution of commendation for a young man who will be earning his Eagle Scout designation. His name is Nathan L. Hales. And the third is for Lights On After School Day, encouraging the use of school facilities for learning purposes after the school day. All of these are for presentation at one has been presented. The other two are for presentation at a future date, so I move ratification of all three.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. We have a proclamation for the War of 1812 Bicentennial Recognition Day. Judge Whitley was to present this, and he and Commissioner Fickus are going to school again. They're down at A&M today. But I'm going to ask Andy Wynn, since I am sort of congested today, would you please read that into the record And let me ask, if I can, Sharon Allen, President of the National Society of United States Daughters of 1812, Tarrant Chapter of Fort Worth, and Joy Cardinal, past President of the National Safety United States Daughters of 1812, Tarrant Chapter, and Joy Evans, also a past President of the National Society of United States Daughters, Tarrant Chapter, will be present to accept this. If y'all would come forward, please. If you would read that into the record.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. I'll be honored to read this proclamation into record. The War of 1812 Bicentennial Recognition Day. Whereas the bicentennial of the War 1812, often referred to as the Second War of American Independence, is being observed from June 18, 2012 to February 17, 2015. And whereas the sacrifices of those sailors, soldiers, and citizens who fought in the War of 1812 further defended the liberties previously won in the American Revolution. And whereas the veterans of the War of 1812 were among the first settlers of Texas, over 150 of whom are known to be buried in Texas, including Edward H. Tarrant, for whom Tarrant County was named, whose grave is at Pioneer Rest Cemetery in Fort Worth. And whereas the National Society United States Daughters of 1812 was formed in 1892, and for over a century, the daughters have dedicated themselves to patriotism and education, as well as the preservation of documents and relics. And whereas the Texas Society, formed in 1903, is the largest state society of the United States Daughters of 1812, with 22 chapters across the state and over 800 members. And whereas the General Edward H. Tarrant Chapter of Fort Worth is observing its 65th anniversary and will host a community bicentennial celebration luncheon on October 19, honoring the 1812 Texas State President Ora Jane Johnson. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 19, 2013 as the War of 1812 Bicentennial Recognition Day, and urge all citizens to become more knowledgeable of the role the War of 1812 played in the history of our nation and of the citizens of the great state of Texas, in witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this, the 15th day of October 2013.
I move for its approval.
Second.
Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Picture with three beautiful women today. All right, any comments y'all might like to make?
Well, we just appreciate the recognition, and it's always good to be here in court.
Well, thank you very much. Any of the rest of you want to make any comments, please?
We're going to be celebrating Saturday, so
All right.
think of us then.
Thank you for being here.
Bless you.
Thank you.
We'll get back on the agenda here in a minute. Okay, our next item is acknowledgement of presentation from the Texas Commission of Jail Standards to our Executive Chief Deputy, Bob Knowles. Bob was presented this proclamation, I believe, last month. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In Austin by the Jail Standards Commission. And again, I apologize for me losing my voice and everything today, but I'm going to ask my good friend Roy Brooks if he would read this proclamation that was presented. Here it is, Roy. Into the record.
My pleasure, thank you. Whereas, on September the 1st, 1974, Robert Allen Knowles began his career in law enforcement as a deputy sheriff for the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. His management skills were quickly recognized as he rose through the ranks and was promoted to the rank of captain in July of 1978. In less than a year after being named the jail administrator for the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, all 4 of the county's jail facilities were certified by the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. Whereas, for 30 consecutive annual jail inspections beginning in 1984, 17 with Dallas County and 13 with Tarrant County, all jail facilities under his command have been certified and remain in compliance with the laws of this state through the dedication and diligence exhibited by Chief Deputy Robert Knowles. Whereas, during his tenure as a jail administrator, not only has Chief Deputy Robert Knowles been recognized for his expertise in the field of county corrections throughout the state of Texas, and having served as president of the Texas Jail Association in 1996, but was also on a national level as he was the recipient of the Howard B. Gill Award from American Jail Association in 1985 as the Correctional Administrator of the Year. Whereas, during his career at both the Dallas County and Tarrant County Sheriff's Office as a jail administrator, Robert Knowles has overseen the design, development, and successful commissioning of over 9,000 county jail beds in 8 different facilities, has consulted and testified in hundreds of civil cases as an expert witness on correctional operations not only in Texas, but all across the United States. Be it further resolved that this action shall be entered into the permanent records of the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, and that this resolution shall serve as evidence that the Commission and the Executive Director hereby express their sincere appreciation and admiration to Robert Knowles for nearly 40 years of outstanding and dedicated service and a legendary law enforcement career.
Legendary.
I'll be right down there. Let me say before I come down to present this to Bob, and also let's vote. I guess we just need to receive and file
Move to
this.
receive and file.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Vote is unanimous. I was honored by the governor a few years ago to serve on the Texas Jail Standards Commission for 6 years. And let me tell you, what Bob has accomplished here is not an easy chore. It's a hard job to pass a jail inspections. I've been through many of them with many different jails that didn't pass. And Bob, I can't say congratulations enough for what you've done for Tarrant County and for Dallas County and for the state of Texas. But thank you, and let me come down and present this to you officially.
And Bob, you need only 4 more over here to beat the number that you had in Dallas County and make it all right.
But I wanted to present this to you from the Jail Standards Commission. And now, this is very nice, but there are other things that came with this. So I'm going to turn this over to the sheriff now and let him make some presentations to you. And don't quit me now.
Most of you who know anything about Bob know that the thing Bob likes least is recognition for what he does. So this is set up this morning as pretty much an ambush on Bob, and we've had to operate in some secrecy to do this. First, I know, Bob, some of your family's here. Would you like to, we'd have Chief Noel's family stand and be recognized if we could. Could y'all stand up if you're Chief Noel's family? You can see many of the jail staff and the people that worked for Bob over the last years are here to honor him as well. It didn't go unrecognized that the 30 consecutive jail inspections have been passed. The jail commission, as you just heard, gave Bob a resolution, but we also have more resolutions that came forward, and if our chiefs will come forward and bring those. We set him up. This is a proclamation from the governor on his achievements from Governor Rick Perry. We're not going to read all these into the record and keep y'all here all day. We have a second one from the State Senate with David Dewhurst's signature, a resolution honoring Bob for 30 years from the State Senate. And we have one also, our good friend Charlie Guerin from the House of Representatives as well has a proclamation. So we're filling Bob's wallet very quickly, as you can tell. And Representative Guerin was kind enough to present Bob with a flag that was flown over the state capitol as well. So, you know, nothing can be said that would equal the service and the dedication that Bob has shown to Tarrant and Dallas County over the years. This is a small token compared to what he has done, but we want everyone today to know how much we appreciate what he's done and how much we appreciate his continued service to the citizens. And now, the worst thing that's going to happen to him is I'm going to make him say something to everyone today. So,
Thank you,
Bob,
Sheriff.
congratulations.
Commissioners, this is a huge honor, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. But no one person can pass a jail inspection. It takes a huge number of people over 30 years that work together as a team. And I see today some from Dallas County that have come over to honor me, and I appreciate that. They were a huge part of the successful inspections that we had over in Dallas County. And the people over here in Tarrant County have absolutely been great. Not only the Sheriff's Department, but the support from the Commissioner's Court, from the Budget Office, from the Sheriff. They allow us to work as a team to make this successful. So this is actually, in my opinion, a recognition of all of the people that helped me throughout those 30 years. And I appreciate everything that they did so much. And thank you so much today for this honor.
Bob, thank you. Now, Sheriff, if you come up missing, we're gonna go get Bob. So we know who did it. All right, we have our consent agenda.
Move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the court, we have 3 additional items for the court this morning. The first item, we're requesting that the court concur with actions of the Hospital District Board of Managers and approve a commercial lease agreement between the Hospital District and Lori's Gifts for space located in JPS Hospital.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 2, we're requesting that the court concur with actions of the Hospital District Board of Managers and which was adopted today, and to approve a compromise and settlement agreement between the Hospital District and NHI Investment Partners.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Then finally, members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve the nomination of Inspiration Point Shelter House in Marion Sampson Park in Northwest Fort Worth to the National Register of Historic Places.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
District Attorney, do you have anything at this time?
It'll all be after closed, although item number E2 will be passed. There's been some developments I'll tell you about in close.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Good morning.
Morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a real estate contract with the City of Mansfield to sell the Tarrant County Mansfield Correctional Facility located at 651 Justice Lane in Mansfield, Texas.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? So we're finally going to get rid of that.
Yes, sir.
Please vote. We hope.
We hope.
Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your positive attitude.
Human Resources, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 5 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
The second item, we're asking the court to approve changes to the table of organization to add 7 new positions in public health as outlined in your court communique. These positions are being created with DSRIP waiver funding. The specific positions are detailed in your court communique. We're estimating the cost of creating these 7 positions is approximately $276,000, again, coming from the Public Health 1115 Waiver Fund.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 3, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for County Criminal Court number 5. Judge Cummings, court coordinator, is retiring at the end of November. The judge is requesting a waiver effective December 7th. We're estimating net savings of approximately $6,000 to the general fund.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item 4, we're asking the court to approve an out-of-class pay extension for information technology. The senior forensic specialist assumed responsibilities of the information security officer back in July, the end of July. Actually, the department has found a new individual to fill the information security officer position. That person will start effective November 4th. We are, however, requesting the continuation of out-of-class pay through November 1st.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
In our 5th and final item, we're asking the court to approve the contribution rates for funding retiree health care benefits for our pre-65 retirees in plan year 2014. So I think the best way to describe today is that we're in the home stretch. The court may recall that we've come to you on a couple of previous occasions, and we've gotten the court to approve active rates for 2014, also rates for our retirees who are 65 and older. So this is our final group. These are our young retirees, our pre-65 retirees. Just as a reminder, this particular group is a fairly small group. The census as of June of this year shows that we had then approximately 238 retirees. The court may also recall that this is the group that we have a matrix in place. We've had a matrix in place since October of 2005. And through the matrix, the court determines the subsidy, how much the county will pay, how much the retiree will pay, and it's based upon years of service at the time that an individual retires. So as outlined in your court communique, and this is the narrative in the second paragraph, so those early retirees who leave with less than 10 years of service, they pay 100% of the cost of their coverage. There's no county subsidy. Those with 10 to 14 years receive a 25% subsidy, 15 to 19 years, a 45% subsidy, 20 to 24, a 60% subsidy, and those with 25 or more years receive an 80% subsidy. So the philosophy of the court, at least since 2005, has been that we want to provide the greatest subsidy to those employees who work here the longest before they retire from county service. And so the matrix reflects that. Now you have a couple of exhibits. They're a little bit more complicated, I think. They look a little bit more complicated, I think, than they actually are. You have exhibits A, B1, B2, B3, and exhibit C. So we'll spend most of our time on exhibit A. The next two exhibits, three exhibits rather, are really just more detail of what we're going to talk about in one. So we'll spend our time on one, and I think the following exhibits will make a lot of sense. Hopefully they will. So if you look at exhibit A, we have a couple of things that we're trying to illustrate or show you. So do you see we have this document divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of horizontal boxes. The very top box, the thinnest of the 5 boxes, that's just really just the column heading so that you know what kind of information is directly below it. The box right below that one and the narrative on the top, if you can see it, describes it as employee rates 2014 total rate based upon the actuarial rate for active employees. Now, I said early on that the court has approved the active rates, and you did. So the information that's reflected specifically in the 2014 heading, and if you look to the right, it's a purple column, the second from the right. See the purple column, second from the right. Those are the 2014 rates, premium rates that are in place for active retirees. Those are the monthly rates. And I'll just read a couple to make sure that we're looking at the same chart. So or same section of the chart. Under high deductible health plan, do you see $66? And then below it is $248. Do you see that box?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So those are the active rates, and you see that there are 4 tiers. That's the first tier is employee only. The second is employee spouse, employee children is below it, and then employee family. So those are the premiums that we are going to charge employees, our active employees in 2014, high deductible health plan. Right below it are the monthly premiums that we're charging on the PPO plan in 2014. It's $121, $332, $246, and $395. So to the right of that column, the 2014 total rate, those rates are what we call the actuarial rates. Those are the rates that the consultant gives us and tells us that's how much money you need to set aside for each of the tiers, employees in each of the tiers, to fund their claims and administrative costs for the year. So that's important to remember that as we work through the options, because the options, some of them tie back to those actuarial rates. So, and just a few more things. If you'll go, same box, go back far left, you have a box, it's the very first box on your left. Those numbers reflect census, meaning the number of employees in this case that are found at each of those tiers. So on the EPO plan, and as of 6/1/13, we had 1,272 individuals with employee-only coverage. This is the EPO plan. 389 employee spouse, 538 employee children, 642 employee family. So the numbers that you see in that, I guess I'll call it a tan colored box down the side of the page, that's your census, okay? And then the last box that I think is really important is the yellow box that's in the center of the page, or sort of right center, and those numbers reflect monthly premium increases for the options that we're going to discuss. So if you're thinking as we go through these options, what is this going to cost? Look at the yellow boxes, or the yellow box that runs, boxes that run down the center. Those reflect increases. So let's look at option 1. We have 3 options for the court to consider for this under 65 group. Option 1 basically says that we take the active rates. Remember I said we had the active accrual rates in the blue boxes right above it. We adjust those by 13%. We adjust those by 13%. That 13% adjustment, then you can see those numbers in the blue boxes, 936.91, 1932.70, 1410.50, 2256.29. So those numbers reflect a 13% increase over the active accrual rates. Okay? So those are the rates for the EPO and the PPO. If we take those actual rates, adjust them by 13%.
Why would we do that?
That's one of the options. One of the options. If you look at the third option, and it'll be the last set of numbers, the last option on that page. So if we don't adjust the active rates, then our option is we can actually take the accrual rates for this group, this retiree under 65 group. And if you look at those accrual rates, look at the rates in the blue box, far right column, you can see those are much larger rates. Those accrual rates for that group, for the under age 65 group, are given to us by the consultant when they go through their analysis. And what they do is they take a look at claims, or breakout claims specific for this group. Remember I said this was a small group. There are only 238 retirees in this group. And so if we're looking at claims for such a small segment of our population, an older segment, in comparison to our active group, then you have higher rates. So the discussion for the court this morning is, as we look at these options, your first 2 options, your option 1 is a 13% adjustment to the active. Your second option is a 15% adjustment to the active. Your third option would take the accrual rates, again, which are higher rates, right, because again, they're exclusive to this group. One thing that I did not say, this particular exhibit is reflective of just those retirees with 25 plus years of service. And the way that you know that is if you look at the purple column, do you see the 20%, the 20% cost share? So these scenarios, option 1, option 2, option 3, 1 apply to just those with 25 plus years of service. We've given you actual, we've given you actuarial. Now again, what's key is take a look at the rate increases that are reflected in the yellow boxes, because that's the real life impact to the retirees. So if you look at option 1, I'll just take you through one of these and I think it'll be clear. Find option 1 for me, and we're looking in the yellow boxes. So for the EPO plan, and remember the EPO plan goes away in 2014. So for a retiree who's on the EPO plan, back in June we had 60 of those individuals. Do you see the census of 60? So for an EPO participant who selects the PPO, they're looking at a $1 a month increase in premium. Okay, so just in comparison, if you go down to option 3, so we have 60 in that group, same 60. If we were to base the cost share on the actuarial rate, they'd be looking at an increase of $67 per month. So Commissioner Wynn, you asked why the active rate? Because we felt like the actuarial rate was a lot.
Draconian.
Yeah, because of the pool is so small.
Because the pool is small.
Therefore, increases the risk.
And
and
so
the
if you
cost.
take a look, obviously, and I'm back down to option 3, and again, those numbers reflect, the numbers in the yellow box reflect monthly increases. So that's not what we're recommending. We're not recommending option 3. So if you look back above that box, you have options 1 and options 2. Option 1, again, is the 13% increase over active rates. You see the end results of that increase in the yellow box. And then option 2 is a 15% increase, and you see the end results of that increase in the yellow box. Our recommendation would be option 1. Now, the next couple of exhibits, again, just give you a broader picture. So if you look at B1, look at exhibit B1, and again, we're going to focus on the yellow box that's sort of right of center. So if you go all the way down, do you see the 25 plus years? Do you see that band at the very bottom? So those are the numbers that we've been talking about. Remember I said the Exhibit A was the 25-plus year group. So do you see how I've picked those numbers up from there? So above it, of course, are those retirees with lesser service. So we have bands starting at the top all the way from 0 to 9 years, 10 to 14 years, 15 to 19, 20 to 24, and 25. And again, the subsidy, as I said early on, is based upon how many years of service you have when you leave county service. So clearly, the more years you have of service, the more years of service you have, the greater the subsidy. So B1 gives you just a broad picture of how retirees in each of those bands will be impacted. And I have to remind you, pay attention to the census, because where some of the numbers look pretty bad, we have no retirees in those categories currently. So, for example, look at the very top, the 0 to 9 years. You see that band? Mm-hmm. We have nobody currently in the EPO plan, and we have 2, and again, this is as of June, and we have 2 in the PPO plan. So if the 2 in the PPO plan decide to stay in the PPO plan, their monthly increase is $97. Obviously, their increase is greater if their cost share is 15%, or if we look at the actuarial rates. And again, we're not recommending that. We're recommending the 13% increase over active rates. Exhibit B2 shows you the impact if the court is interested in option 2, which is a 15% increase. And again, if you focus on the yellow box, it will show you those monthly increases for each of those bands of retirees. And again, you can look at the census to see how many potential retirees would be impacted. And then finally, your Exhibit B3 bases that increase, that cost share, of course, on the actuarial rates. And to use Commissioner Brooks' term, those increases are pretty draconian.
So Tina, what's your recommendation?
We're recommending option 1, which is the 13% increase over active rates.
Move for approval, option 1.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve option 1 is recommended. Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And one additional thing, Judge, if I could please, your Exhibit C. Your Exhibit C reflects a group that we call our grandfathered retirees. These are individuals, the number has gradually lessened. These are the retirees who were retired at the time that we put the matrix in place. And so every year the number's grown smaller because, of course, eventually they become 65. And so we move them to the next group. Right now we have 4 individuals in this group. Every year we come to the court and ask for options, and just like in prior years, we're asking for a 15% increase over 2013 rates for this group. And you can see the impact in the yellow box. And we have 4 retirees in this group. And this increase is consistent with what we've asked for in years past for this group.
Seems to me that most retirees would go with a PPO plan
Yes, sir.
because
That's what we're anticipating.
they're not getting the seed money
Correct. We're
if they go with the HSA.
That's correct.
Are you requesting court action on this?
We are requesting
Move
court action on
approval
Exhibit
of,
C.
Second.
C,
Exhibit C.
Exhibit C.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And if I could give the court one piece of information, Judge, before I have a seat. The court's aware that we have been, hopefully is aware that we've been involved in conducting our benefit meetings for 2014. Wanted to let the court know that to date we've held 27 countywide benefit meetings. We've had 1,252 employees rather, who have attended, so we've had pretty good attendance. Again, these have been countywide meetings. They have not all been downtown. We have scheduled, or in the process of scheduling makeup sessions. We are hoping that we can schedule 2 makeup sessions, 2 makeup meetings in our central jury room. We were made aware that that space would be available to us, and so we're grateful for that. And then we'll have 1 more meeting here in the courtroom. And so we've not sent that information out, but we will be sending that out in the next couple of days.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the people attending these meetings?
I think the feedback has been positive. I think there's a little bit of confusion, which we anticipated when we go through and explain the high deductible health plan. Most of our meetings have been conducted by Joyce Kirk and Amber Duckworth. I think they're both in court today, and I want to thank them for their work. They've had these meetings, they've conducted these meetings back to back, most days multiple meetings, 2 or 3 days. But to your question, Judge, I think the meetings have been well received. We've had some employees who seem really excited at the prospect of having the high deductible health plan made available. Some have had experience with that with previous employers, and so we're happy to see us implementing it here. Obviously, very happy about the seed money, the $750. There have been questions about whether or not the court would provide seed money beyond 2014, and our response was we can't make commitments for the court. The court can't make commitments, for next year. We'll see when we get there. We've had a lot of questions about the PPO plan because, as the court recalls, we enhanced that plan, and so it's going to work a little bit differently. It's going to be a little bit richer in 2014 than it has been. So I think overall the meetings have been positive. We certainly have had concern about the EPO plan going away, which we anticipated that would be the case. But I think overall the meetings they've gone well. They've been well attended. Every meeting has been full. Every meeting room has been full. In some cases, standing room only. So we are really thrilled that our departments help get the word out, encourage their employees to attend. And for those employees who did not have an opportunity to attend, again, we're going to be offering more meetings so that they can come out and hear firsthand about the plans.
Thank you, Tina.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Information technology. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Information Technology Department this morning is requesting the Commissioners Court to approve technology management services for a project manager utilizing the state of Texas Department of Information Resources, DIR, for information technology. And this is going to be with tech systems. That position, we needed to help us oversee the countywide the desktop refresh.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Public Health, Ms. Brewer.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Public Health has 3 items for your approval this morning. The first is approval of the Tarrant County Public Health Demonstration Year 2 Texas Medicaid 1115 waiver interlocal transfer payment to the Texas Health and Human Services Commission.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And we will be briefing you on our second 4 approved projects on the 29th of this month. Our second item for approval is to submit a managed care provider enrollment application to AmeriGroup Texas, Inc. for the Public Health Department's Preventive Medicine Clinic.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And our third item is for approval of an organization access agreement with Availity LLC for electronic billing of clearinghouse insurance claims for the Public Health Department.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions or discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Beecham. No football today.
No football today. We are going to try to help you Aggies out this week. Nobody else can do that. But JD, Commissioner Johnson, last month when Mr. Early made his presentation, I understand he made some profound statements. I'll do my best to stay in my seat in case he says anything else profound this morning.
Okay.
We do have 5 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFQ 2013-067 for Juvenile Residential Services. On October 1, 2013, through Court Order 116266, the court awarded 39 vendors for this RFQ. At that time, there were 4 additional vendors that the evaluation team were considering. This morning, we're bringing back 2 that did pass muster. That would be Gulf States Trade Center and Turning Point Children's Social Services for award consideration. If those 2 additional vendors are approved, we're seeking contract approval from the court.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 2 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2013-126. This is an annual contract for grease and sand trap services. Our recommendation will be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Our third item is also a bid award recommendation for RFP 2013-131, which is for prisoner extradition services. Our recommendation is to award per the contract terms, again awarding to the primary and secondary vendor as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Number 4 item is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2013-133. This is our annual contract for air filter for use by facilities management. Our recommendation will be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors meeting all specifications as shown in your court communique. There were 2 vendors that did not include the required addendums, which in fact did change the specifications, which were not considered for award.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Our last item, again, a bid award recommendation for bid 2013-145, it's an annual contract for paper and plastic products. The recommendation will be to award the 11 primary and the 10 secondary vendors meeting all specifications as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Sheriff's Department.
Good morning. Chief
Morning.
Knowles
Good morning.
was supposed to do this, but he was swept away on the shoulders of his staff and carried off to a reception, so I'm here instead. The sheriff is asking that you receive and file his inspection report from the Texas Jail Commission on jail standards.
I'm going to move approval that we receive and file.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Interlocal agreements. We're holding this one, I understand, till after close. Commissioner Wynn.
Yes, sir. Move for the approval of item N2A.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Any appointments today? We didn't vote on that, did we? Let me vote on it. Make it official. It is unanimous. Every once in a while, I'll stray into my bail bond board meeting custom here. Any appointments today? Any bonds? We have our claims.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Briefing, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have several items this morning for the court's review. The first is the update from the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Need Mr. Beecham up here to help you with this.
I think he only thought it was profound because I mentioned his name. I've never been accused of being profound before. Couple things I want to give you an update on. One of the things that I'm quite proud of our IT department. Our IT department last month was selected the third best IT department in healthcare throughout the nation to work for.
Congratulations. I heard about that.
I'm really proud of them.
Yes.
That's a good team. You know, that's a team of people that we had subcontract with, we contracted in-house, we did outside services for, and we've brought them in-house now in the last 5 years from stability standpoint. Our IT Vice President, Melinda Costin, has brought huge leadership. David Mendenhall, a young man that we stole out of the state of Kansas and brought down here, has made huge changes in our IT department. We're also proud of Cook Children's. Cook was voted 4th best, so to have 2 Texas hospitals in the top 5 is pretty phenomenal. Cool. So to be 3rd and 4th, we're really proud, and so I'm proud of our team. Also, on behalf of the...
Do you know where Parkland stands?
I do not know. I didn't look at the list to see where they might be, but I didn't see them up there.
Somewhere below 5.
Yes, sir. But they're a great institution, doing well. I, too, want to congratulate Bob Knowles. We work with Chief Knowles in our effort to provide health care to the inmates at our county facility. And Chief Knowles runs a tight ship, and we appreciate working with him. And whenever we've had discussions, both good and bad, he is always trying to figure out what's best for the county and what's best for the inmates. And we appreciate that. We really appreciate working with him at the hospital district. Speaking of working with folks, I'm going to assume that in the future you all are probably going to get some phone calls from folks that provide services, particularly from a physician standpoint. The tough challenge about JPS is if you want to make JPS a better place, you can't keep it the same. You can't just go with what you've done every day. And no matter how much we improve, I always want to get better. And the contracts that were written for our physicians were written 5 years ago. I can't find another healthcare facility that writes 5-year contracts. In this nature of healthcare and its ever-changing world, 5 years is a long time. So it's time for those contracts to come up. And our attitude is, if you want to talk about improving patient care, we're going to have a really good discussion. If you want to come into a meeting and discuss how things should stay the same, it's going to be a challenging meeting. And part of that change is changing from a system by which we paid individuals to provide a service, which is fair, which was the standard by which people were paid. Today, most contracts throughout healthcare, and I think wisely so, are changing to one based on performance and looking at outcomes and paying based on something that you can measure. So what our discussions are going to be with our physicians, which we appreciate very much, is how do we come up with those performance outcomes? How do we work together to do that? So what we did was we provided extensions for all of our current contracts in order that we could bring both groups in and talk about those performance improvements. But we've got some great partners to work with. When we work with the University of North Texas Health Science Center, I feel real positive about what agreements we can reach with them. When we work with our surgery department and we work with UT Southwestern on some of the programs they have, I feel very positive about where we're going to go. Where some of the challenge comes in is some of our service that are hospital-based services, such as anesthesiology contracts, pathology, radiology, those that are just hospital-based. Those type contracts will go out for a request for proposal. They fit a request for proposal model, and we will do that. And in a request for proposal, we'll be very open with everybody and say, here are the standards we want, and we want you to hit this standard. If it takes more nurse practitioners, if it takes a different challenge in pay, name it. Get to that level. We want services, and we'll define what we want for the patients at the end of the day. I don't want to see surgeries canceled for no reason. I don't want to see people not showing up for clinics for no reason. We don't want to see people being left on hold on a phone call trying to get access into our system. We have to make our own improvements so that our physicians can be better. But we're going to make some demands at JPS, and some of that change is going to be uncomfortable. I understand that. But I think you as a Commissioner's Court put me and others in charge at JPS to figure out what's best for the patient. And we will keep that single focus. Along the way, there might be some frustration, but we're going to try to do our best, even dealing with the frustrations. So I will try my best to brief you all individually, not persuade you, just brief you on the facts of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and what that opinion has been. And I'll keep you informed best I can. Up to this point, all we've done in most cases is provided extension, except for one RFP that we went out for our hospitalist services. And we went with a hospital group that we think will provide the best services. And I can certainly go into more detail individually with y'all on that, but feel very positive with the way things are going. And I also think we have some great partners, some good folks. This is not a matter of trying to figure out who you can kick out. It's a matter of figuring out what standards we all feel positive by which we're going to go and live by in the next few years. So I'm happy to answer any questions or anything else that y'all might have.
Do you think we can work out an agreement with the doctors?
Oh, most certainly. We have a lot of agreements that we have. We just don't have one, but all those agreements, I think, and feel very positive about.
Okay.
The other thing I'm very positive about is that they'll all have some level of a standard performance. We won't say your performance is this and your performance is that. There'll be a bit of standardization to that, so nobody is treated on either level of that scale. We'll be fair about that, but those performance evaluations will be based on input that we have from them. I'm a firm believer that you don't need an administrator who's non-medical telling people what they should do medically. You're going to have the input from a medical group that says, here are the performance standards that we understand and agree to.
So when we develop those standards, do you...
We're beginning to work on those right now.
Okay,
with
we're
the
still
physicians.
developing the standards.
Mm-hmm. Yes. There's
Are
a
the
lot...
doctors involved in the process of developing the standard?
Who's involved?
The doctors.
Yes, they are. And what we're trying to do is get to that point where we sit down. All we've done with them now is just giving them some raw data. Here's a number of patients you've seen. Here's what you've done. And now we'll go to the next step. The challenge that we have is trying to figure out what's worked in a best practice throughout the nation. There are some good leading healthcare institutions that we can look at and say that's exactly what we could mimic at JPS. And trying to survey those is our challenge right now, and that's what we're doing. I'm very positive. However, there may be communication that you might have, but I don't think it's the days of old where you got into a room with no windows and the walls had a rubber portion to them and everybody just yelled and screamed at each other and whoever lost the least won. I don't think that's the way to go, and that's not the process we're going to have.
Good.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's see. Members of Court, item B concerns a presentation as it relates to the City of Crowley Tax Increment Finance District Reinvestment Zone Number 1. Ms. McMillan is here to address the court.
Good morning.
Morning.
Today we have representatives from the City of Crowley here to present to Commissioners Court a proposal for the establishment of a 957-acre tax increment financing reinvestment zone, the first for the City of Crowley, which includes all of its downtown area and vacant tracts to the north of downtown and a non-contiguous tract along south of FM 1187. The majority of the property within the zone is currently vacant land or existing commercial uses. As you will hear in more detail when they make the presentation, TIF funding is estimated to pay for approximately $21 million in public infrastructure costs, and this in turn is expected to generate over $80 million in private development value. I'm going to turn it over now to the representatives from the City of Crowley, which include Robert Lofton, the city manager, and Jack Thompson and Lance Reardon from Arasi.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners, I appreciate, first of all, the opportunity for the city to be able to come before you and make our presentation. As was announced, I have members of the Arasi group that the city has contracted with to help us in this endeavor, Jack Thompson, the president, and Lance Reardon. So I'll begin the presentation and then turn it over to the experts to kind of finish it up for you. I'll try and be brief. I know your time's valuable, but I also want to be thorough, so if there's any questions that the commissioners have, that we can try and answer those. The city of Crowley, for those that aren't aware, and some of you may be aware, is a small landlocked city on the south end of Tarrant County. We abut the city of Fort Worth, and we have approximately 7 square miles. Over the past few years, our downtown area, when TxDOT moved 1187 further to the south, began to dry up our downtown area. The businesses moved, those that we had in our core, and moved down there. And we have a lot of vacant space and a lot of empty shells, if you will, that we need to get occupied. Addition to that, we have a lot of the area in the city that's undeveloped. As a small city, we encounter difficulties, and as any other city actually would do, is finding the financing with which to make this happen. We've been in significant talks with developers, some on a 600-acre area that is just northwest of our downtown area, and then we have a good portion of the TIF that we anticipate having that is east of our area, and that is going to be primarily for commercial and entertainment type venues to get people to come to Crowley. Development is moving south. Keller, Roanoke, they've had theirs and they're continuing to have that. But as we begin to have our Metroplex move toward our direction with the Chisholm Parkway opening and things such that, we want to be prepared for that. As a city, we want to make sure that as that development comes, that it's orchestrated and not done haphazardly. We think that the TIF is going to allow us to do that because it's going to allow the city financing flexibility that we currently do not have, which is going to allow us to put in infrastructure, some water and sewer to undeveloped areas that would allow developers to have some interest in that, as well as allowing developers who have some interest to have a little bit more piqued interest, saying, okay, they have an opportunity now to, as they risk their dollars, to invest in Crowley, to have some kind of assurances that they will have at least a moderate return on that investment in a relatively short period of time. So all that being said, Crowley, it's important for Crowley to have this development occur, and more importantly, even our downtown zone, I don't want to gloss over that. It's not a ghost town, but it's nowhere near where we would like it to be today. And if you're in the area, stop by, come visit me, I'll take you to lunch just to show you the area. You'll see that our downtown area has a lot of vacancies. We're talking to a developer now out of California that has a specific area he's got some interest in that would be included in the TIF to come in and begin a revitalization of our downtown area. We've already begun. We spent in excess of $500,000 to have our creosoted utility poles removed and go with spun fiberglass to try and enhance the look of the downtown area. We want to remove bar ditches and put in curb and gutter. And we want to do some advancements in maybe a town hall type center so we can, we've recently received a green ribbon grant from TxDOT that's going to allow us to landscape our median area and put up our entry signs. It's going to let people know they've come into Crowley. And it's important to us as well to get the downtown area revitalized. And so for lack of brevity, I'll turn it over now, if you don't have any questions of me, to Jack Thompson of the Arasi Group, and I'll stand ready at any moment to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let's talk about a TIF a little bit. As Mr. Lofton had mentioned, that a lot of this TIF is to cover the downtown area and a lot of the neglect and kind of blight that has occurred in the downtown area. Infrastructure to the northern part of the area to encourage more development up into the northern area of the community, as well as creating more of a entertainment and retail node and district down on 1187. As you can see, those are the four main initiatives of our TIF. The TIF boundaries include 957 total acres, with about 920 of that is net after you take out city property and church or nonprofit lands. What we've basically done is broken down the overall TIF district into four different development zones. One zone being the non-contiguous part down on the southern end of the city on 1187, another being the downtown area, the third and fourth being largely undeveloped tracts of land, primarily for industrial/business park and residential areas. The primary district is composed of 93% of vacant land right now, and 75% of the value is either commercial or vacant land at this time. The proposed zone is worth about $65 million as of today. At the end of the 26 year, really the base year plus the 25 years of the TIF, we project about $215 million valuation. This area includes pretty much the whole northwestern quadrant of the city, as you can see up there in the peach color outline. Now, our timeline and vision for this, really getting into those four areas. The main area, the first area we really see developing is that entertainment venue down on 1187. We've had a lot of interest in this area for an entertainment venue that will also help spur retail and restaurant development along this area. And we're very excited about the opportunities that we see within that area. The second focused area is the Main Street area, creating a downtown. One of the biggest desires of the Crowley residents is to create more of a sense of place, is to bring back the downtown. And so that's going to be a primary focus for us as time goes on. And we see that being an ongoing project beginning in 2014 all the way through the life of the TIF in 2035. And that's just something that the residents have really expressed a strong interest in bringing that sense of place. The third area of focus that we see really beginning to experience some development between the years of 2015 and 2025 is a residential and mixed-use node up in the northern quadrant of the city. And finally, our fourth area of focus that we really see kind of taking on towards the latter end of the TIF, it would be the light industrial area. Now again, there's the four focus areas, and let's dive into each area briefly. Focus area one, this is the entertainment, retail, restaurant area. We really are looking for this area to kind of be the initial increment for the TIF that will help spawn and pay for other development within the downtown and northern quadrants of the city. This is something that we're very excited about. We've been in negotiations with some developers on this area, and so this is really where we expect to see our catalyst for the TIF. The estimated TIF investment for this area is $2.4 million. Focus area number two, now we're getting into the Main Street area. This is really the focus of turning around and creating that sense of place. As Mr. Lofton had mentioned, we've got some empty shells of buildings that we've really got to upgrade or redevelop. And so a lot of what the investment is that we see taking the increment from the area one and putting that increment into this focus area two. This is where a lot of costs are going to be incurred as far as putting in sidewalks and landscaping and burying power poles and putting in street lights and working with developers on filling those empty buildings. And we estimate that the TIF will participate at about $9.9 million over the life for that area. Focus area three.
This is a large tract of land. It's predominantly owned by one gentleman. He's expressed an interest in working with us on this. He's been very supportive. He's actually worked with a TIF district in Corsicana, so he's familiar with them, and I think he'll make a good development partner on this area. And basically what we're looking at this area, there is a creek that runs through it, which is where the blue dotted line kind of gerrymanders through the slide there. And what we're looking at for this region is residential and mixed use all throughout that area. Also maybe looking at some kind of creek, river walk type development along there in the future, and really making that kind of a nice focal point for growth. There's a middle school already up there, so once we can get the main sewer water lines up to that area and some arterial roads into that area, we really anticipate development to occur. We're seeing a good housing development in our existing subdivisions, and we believe that will continue once we can get infrastructure up to these areas. We believe that the estimated investment for the TIF in this is $6.2 million. And finally, focus area 4 is industrial. This is where we really want to create jobs. The council very much believes in a balanced economy for both sales tax generation, but also job creation and property tax base. And this is where we really see the future of building up a strong property tax and job creation bases in this area. We already have several manufacturers up here, and so it's basically just an extenuation of this. We'd also like to blend it in with that, with this area. It's right adjacent to it, and you can blend in mixed use, single-family residential, and then job creation, and have basically your encapsulated live, work, and play, which is a common economic development term that we all like. But it really brings this whole area together, and it creates a very balanced economy for the city of Crowley. And again, the infrastructure to this, you can see where the developments occurred, where the streets actually exist. So once we feel like we can get more streets, roads, water, and sewer up to this area, it'll really encourage more industrial development. We've seen a lot of industries looking to come to Texas from other states, so we hope to capitalize in on some of the industries that are looking to move into our state and our county. The estimated investment for the TIF for this area is $6 million. And now for the actual revenue sources and to really get into the financing aspect of it, I'll turn this over to Lance Reardon.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm just going to hit a few of the financial highlights, and I'll be happy to take any questions you all have here. So as you see here, the revenue sources by contribution. In the Tarrant County, it's for just under $4 million, about $160,000 a year, the life of the TIF. And the hospital district and Tarrant County combined make up about half of what the city puts in all the time. And here's the total kind of master plan revenue. The city is looking at putting in funds kind of outside of the tourist contributions as well. Like as far as that entertainment venue that we're working on currently, the city has some funds for some water and sewer bonds they would look into use to put in infrastructure for that. And they would continue to look at opportunities like that to help spur on TIF projects and move things quickly, whether or not be using some debt capacity from the city or other sources. Some of those things would be reimbursed from the city for infrastructure cost, and some of them would be EDC activities like land acquisition, which would not be reimbursed. Here's a look at the kind of core TERS projects. You can see TERS revenue is about $21 million, and kind of here's the core projects for it to use for. Most of it goes into downtown redevelopment, corridor improvements, sidewalks, streets, lights, curb and gutter. Residential development is basically spurred on by streets and roads and some lighting, kind of open up those tracks, get some of those residential developers interested in that area. And then kind of at the bottom you see there's a railroad station placeholder. There's been a lot of talk with the city kind of in the Cotton Belt line being extended down there, so we wanted to include something to create a station in the event that in the TERS life the railroad does get spread down to Johnson County. And here's kind of the master plan revenue sources. It's all the same costs we saw on the previous slide, plus the land acquisitions and some additional debt service and a few other infrastructure projects that the city would take upon themselves. And that's actually our last slide. So now take any questions for myself or Jack or Mr. Lofton.
I just want to comment that this is much needed for the city of Crowley. It is poised to be a real growth center in Tarrant County. Their plan is innovative, and I think they have done their homework, and I'd like to see us give them a hand with this.
What's the city's population?
We're 12,000, sir.
12,500? What's the major business there, the core industry?
Well, we have what we would consider two major industries, which is Harbison Fisher. They work with the oil industry.
Okay.
And then we have Aztec Manufacturing, their galvanization company, and then the school district. Those are our three largest employers in our city. And the rest of them are really just small, other than Walmart, that opened last year for us. The rest of our businesses are just small, typically mom and pop operations. And we're getting there. We've got a Dollar General or a Dollar Tree that just recently opened up, and we've got some others that are coming in. And we've been working diligently of late trying to entice the entertainment venue, which is going to give calls for people to come to Crowley. Right now, to be perfectly frank with you, those that come to Crowley live in Crowley. And we need to expand the drawing power that we have to get people to come and shop and to stay in Crowley and eat dinner in Crowley, if you will. And then it'll give us a little bit more enhancement to try and get some of the developers to come in.
But the city of Crowley has experienced some fairly dramatic residential growth over the past 5 to 10 years.
Commissioner, we have, and we've still got a lot of interest in that growth. I met just last week with a developer who wants to develop 200-plus acres, and a different developer who's looking at another 200 acres in our city for residential growth. And that's coming our way. We need to have, when those residents come to see us, places for them to go sit down and have dinner and not drive to adjacent cities in Johnson County, which is what they're doing now. We want to keep them in Tarrant County and in Crowley.
Right.
How important is 1187 to your plan?
Fairly significant, especially on an entertainment venue. It is the TxDOT road that's going to go and intersect Chisholm Parkway. So people that are going to come from Rendon, Burleson, South Fort Worth going to the Chisholm Parkway toll road, or even out west, which we expect development to occur in that area of Tarrant County, it is a major artery for people to get to that area that's going to develop.
How wide is it right now?
Currently, it's 2 lanes.
2 lanes
Coming through Crowley and
both
going
ways?
through it, yes. 4 lanes, 2 lanes east, 2 lanes west, but it's divided.
I see, okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Commissioners, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
So as you saw in the presentation, the city of Crowley is proposing 100% participation of the city increment generated within that zone to go back into the zone, and that's estimated to generate about $13.3 million over the life of the TERS. And they're asking the county to contribute 75% of its increment, which is expected to generate about $3.9 million. They also are requesting participation by the hospital district and the junior college district at 50%, which is estimated to generate about $2.3 million over the 25 years from the hospital district and about $1.5 million from the junior college district. Right now, we'll plan on working with the city and finalizing, getting the board set, finalizing the financing and project plans, and later bringing back to you a participation agreement if that meets the court's approval. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Final
Thank you,
members of the
gentlemen.
court, we are going to have a update from Public Health. Ms. Brewer.
I have 2 updates for you this morning. The first one is West Nile virus, and then the second one will be on pertussis. For West Nile virus, last week we had 159 mosquito pool samples submitted to the lab. 6 samples tested positive, and they were at DFW Airport, Kennendale, Keller, Watauga, and 1 in the unincorporated area, and I'll talk about that one in just a minute. To date, 40 of our samples have tested positive, and we have 5 human cases. 2 of those were West Nile fever, and 3 of them were neuroinvasive. And of those 3 neuroinvasives, we've had 2 deaths. One was in a man in his 30s from Fort Worth, and the other was in a man in his late 70s from Arlington, and they both had underlying conditions. What I wanted to share with you about the unincorporated positive sample, we just got that at the end of the week last week, and then we had a huge rain event and going to have more. Our staff have been out there working. That's been one of the areas that's had higher counts of mosquito samples. And by the way, we are seeing those numbers overall starting to come down now that we're getting later into the season. But in the southwest area, we haven't seen as much of a decline. So the staff have been down there really scouting it out and trying to find trouble spots. And they did find several green pools, meaning swimming pools that have been left uncared for or untreated. And so they have gone in and treated those pools. So after the rain and after that treatment, they're hoping to get more samples and see if that has made a difference in the area. Meanwhile, they've gone out and done education and left information door to door. After the rains are over, then they'll reevaluate the situation.
These swimming pools, are they privately owned?
Yes.
They're residential pools?
Yes.
Are the homes occupied?
I don't know that, but I'll find out for you.
Legislature's given us additional authority to go onto private land whenever there is a hazard such as this, health hazard, and to treat it. That's why we do that.
The second update is on pertussis. We are up to 533 cases. We had 15 additional cases reported to us last week. That's still too many, but that's half of what we were receiving earlier this summer. So it's still too early to say that we're trending downward, but we're very hopeful that we are seeing a trend downwards at this point in time. Meanwhile, things that we've been doing, we've done a number of presentations and articles, such as the Tarrant County News, the Tarrant County Physician, several presentations to various physician groups, and we have gotten the assistance of the Tarrant County Medical Auxiliary in delivering a letter from our health authority regarding pertussis and some of the things that our OB and family practice physicians can be doing to be extra vigilant. We've also sent out 2 health alerts to the entire medical community in Tarrant County. That includes physicians, nurses, hospitals. We sent one out earlier, and we just sent another one out last week, just reminding them that we have this issue in Tarrant County and some of the precautions that they might want to take, or keeping on a high level of alert. We've updated our webpage and our hot topics message in the health department, so anybody calling in will get more information. We did issue a press release last week, which did bring in a lot of media attention, including we did have Telemundo and Univision, and that was great because we've seen a high incidence in the Hispanic population, and so we were really trying to get to that population in particular. We have been doing outreach with our community health workers. We've developed a poster and a flyer with information. To date, we've reached 269 different locations. This past week alone, we did 124 locations, and that includes places like child care centers. We really tried to identify places that pregnant women might go, so that might be some place to buy maternity or infant wear. So we've approached those service stores to post the information and to have the advisory available. We've also reached out to health and medical clinics, apartment complexes, and church and community organizations. So our total number again is 269 different locations that we've been to so far. Anecdotally, we're seeing some evidence of the message getting out there. We know that the Fort Worth Neighborhood Association has distributed information about pertussis. We also know from an employee going to their pediatrician's office, that pediatrician had an alert in their waiting room. They had information about pertussis and what you should do there. And we also noticed that in one of the media stories last week, they were interviewing a child care worker, and our flyer poster was in the background. So the word is getting out, and we're glad about that. Any questions at this time? And I'll pass this on.
No questions. I just
Thank you, Ms. Brewer.
want us to continue to be aggressive about getting the word out, getting people immunized, even those family members who are going to be around small children might need to renew their immunizations because those have certainly lapsed.
Yes, absolutely. And you have brought up something that we've mentioned before about this cocooning process. Centers for Disease Control really promotes this effort, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to reach out to the OB practices and the family practices, is to make sure they're having a discussion with their pregnant women to make sure that they're getting their pertussis immunization, and then hopefully to even make that more far-reaching and to get them to identify family members that might be around the infant after birth that need pertussis immunization themselves. So that absolutely is the message that we're trying to get out.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you
Brewer.
for bringing that up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any announcements today? Before we close our meeting, I would like to request the court today if we could close in memory of Judge Bill McElhaney. Judge McElhaney was a Wise County judge. He passed away yesterday in Commissioner's Court meeting, 67 years old. He was in his second term as Wise County judge and was on the executive board of North Central Texas Council of Governments. So if y'all would make record of that, please. Pursuant to Section 55107.1, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code, we're recessed to closed session and discuss the items listed and return to take action at the conclusion of that meeting. Having returned from closed session, we have one item to take care of at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor. This item is number E1 under the District Attorney's Office, requesting authorization to sign the settlement agreement between Abigail Pena and the lawyer Drake Dunavant, Dunnavent, request in the amount of $10,000. We're requesting that this payment be made without it first appearing on the claims register for approval by this court, authorizing the auditor to release the check on execution of the documents here.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second.
What is the lawyer's name? Is he a party?
I have to look. Dunavant, Dunnavent.
Why is he part of the settlement?
Because he's the lawyer. That's how he gets paid.
That's the way they work.
That's how he gets paid.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Anything else to come before the court today?
Not at this time, sir.
We also want to remember, we just was informed a few moments ago that David Hudson's father has passed away. So we want to keep him in our memory and prayers. Of course, dismissed.
Thank you.